Greetings to all. Hi, I'm Falguni Oja and I welcome you to yet another interview organized by Clue4 Evidence News. Today we have with us Mr. Clifton Coetzee, an instructor and examiner at South Africa Polygraph Academy. He is here to talk with us on different technologies that are being used by forensic psychologists. Welcome, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. So, all these years you have been working with several forensic psychology techniques and instruments. So, you have come across various techniques, and during this period, how was your experience with working with all these technologies?
Well, it's been a long journey. It's actually more than 32 years. I started this career in about 1980. I started as an insurance claims investigator, investigating particularly suspected fraudulent claims. And that led me to lie detection, because often you couldn't uncover enough evidence and you had to make a call. Should I waste more time investigating this claim or should I not? So I turned to lie detection and I started hiring polygraph examiners and voice stress examiners. And in watching them, I realized that I could do a better job myself. So I made several trips to the US over the course of my career to learn polygraph, voice stress, statement analysis, facial analysis, body language, everything that I could from all the known masters. And then I cherry-picked the best, what I thought was the best of every technique and technology, which I then called truth extraction, because that's what we all are about. We want to get to the truth. And that helped me immensely in my career, because they used to call me the bloodhound. If I couldn't discover a fraudulent claim, then basically nobody would. So that's what happened. And then I progressed to teaching. People asked me to teach me the techniques that I'd learned. And I never really thought about it. I didn't think of myself as a teacher. But I'm quite passionate about what I do, and I'm a very intense person. I started teaching, and it became a new career. So eventually I left fraud examination and focused on the lie detection techniques. The hardware, which is polygraph and voice stress detection, and then the passive interrogation techniques like statement analysis, facial analysis. I'm passionate about facial analysis because I believe that the eyes are the window to the soul. You've heard the saying, people say you can't judge a book by its cover. Well, absolutely you can with human beings. The face tells you what's going on inside.
Okay.
So it's a fascinating journey, and I'm enjoying the teaching, and it's still going well, even during these trying corona times.
That's good, sir. So, you have been an author of two books in sequel, that is the Truth Extraction. So, how was your experience as an author?
Well, it took me on another journey. It happened that how it happened was that I used to listen to a very popular radio station every morning, and the host used to interview politicians. And as you may well know, in South Africa, our politicians don't have a very good reputation for honesty. And I would listen to these interviews, and I was aware that the interviewer was missing the cues, the verbal cues of his interviewees that were lying. So I would often stop and phone the radio station and say, look, get that man back on the line and ask him this and ask him that. So then they used to phone me beforehand and say, we're going to be interviewing so-and-so. Can you please stay on the line? We'll phone you and then tell us what to ask him. And that was fun for a while, but then it was cutting into my time. So I said to them, listen, why don't you let me train your interviewers? So they said, good idea, which I did. And then while I was there, the station manager said, why don't you write a book? And I said to him, look, all these things, all these techniques I use, I didn't invent them. I just put them together. I cherry-picked from here and from there, and together it's a powerful investigation tool. So he said, well, there's nothing like that in the market. Let's put a book together. He said to me, I'll develop the skeleton and you put the flesh in it. You tell me the story, we'll put it into a book. And we did that. The book was a bestseller, and it also led to more work in training people in my truth extraction technique. And we parted company after a while. We each had our own businesses, but people were asking me for books, and there weren't any more. The original printers asked for permission to print again, and I said no, because things have changed, and that book is now redundant. The information is redundant. So I went on a journey, had to do more research, and that's the good thing, because when you write a book, what's going out there must be bang up to date. So it led to me doing a lot of research, and in 2008, I was ready to publish a second book. But what happened is that there was a burglary at my home, and my laptop was stolen. And Mr. Clever didn't make proper backups. I had bits on floppy disks and bits on USB drives. So I started cobbling everything together again, and then I also had to do a bit more research for the bits that I had lost. And then I realized again that things have changed again. There's always new theories and new techniques. So it ended up that I did a lot more research, and then I published the next book in 2013. There's actually been others, but they're really offshoots. So the good thing about writing a book in our line of work is that it forces you to do research, and that's the good thing about it.
Impressive, sir. Like after all ups and downs, you finally was able to like do an impressive work.
Yeah, and that book actually sold very well. Both my books were catalogued by the FBI Training Academy, and that's always a good thing. It looks good on your CV. But I also read everybody else's books. I've got hundreds of books, and as you chaps know, reading is never a bad thing.
Yes. So you are the developer of AVSAPRO voice polygraph system. So what makes this system better than the other polygraph systems that are being used worldwide for forensic analysis?
Okay, I think let's compare apples with apples. Our voice stress detection system is certainly streets, light years ahead of any other voice stress detection system because I aligned myself with top developers. I knew what I wanted as an examiner, and I was able to draw on their expertise to use artificial intelligence and neural networking databases. So it's highly automated. It's extremely accurate. It's as accurate and reliable as polygraph. And what makes it accurate is the whole methodology. Coming from a polygraph background, we adopted the polygraph methodology just using a different technology and not the old belts and straps. But having said that, polygraph is a useful technology, but it's an old technology. It takes time. You invade people's privacy and they don't like it, especially if you have to polygraph test ladies. You have to put the pneumo bands around their chest and around their tummies, and they definitely do not like strange people touching them. Well, I think men don't like it either. And it takes a long time. With our system, it's very quick. You need not touch the person. They can wear a headset, which they put on themselves, or they can speak into a mic on a desktop tripod. So it's very quick, it's very reliable, and without denigrating polygraph, why not use a new technology to save time? And it's user friendly, it saves time. Saving time is saving money.
So this technique can be used like what effects you have seen in when using this technique for an experienced killers, like they don't have fear of being caught. So in that case, you cannot judge through polygraph. Mostly they fail to judge. So is your technique capable of distinguishing between them?
You see, there I differ with you. Firstly, have you ever met a psychopath?
No. sir. Not really.
Exactly. So I've met them, I've interviewed people in jails. Now, psychopaths do fear being caught. That's why they lie. Um, Only an insane person is going to tell the truth to his crimes. So even when you catch serial killers, initially they all lie because they don't want to go to jail or they don't want to hang. And when you test them for crimes, when you ask them, did you do that? They say no. And when they say no, they are lying to avoid the consequences of their actions. And what I have found in my career is that sociopaths and borderline psychopaths fear incarceration more than normal people. They just cannot handle being locked up in a small environment. And that is why they are so hard to catch. It's not easy to catch serial killers and psychopaths, people who commit robberies and heinous crimes. They cover their tracks very well.
Yes, sir.
And people say to me, but how can you test them because they believe their lies? They don't believe their lies. That's why they're lying. If they were deluded and you said, did you take that missing $10,000? They would say, yes, of course I took it. If every time you leave money lying around, I'm going to take it. But they don't. They say, no, I didn't see it. I've got nothing to do with it. So they don't present a challenge. They are, in fact, easier to corner than normal people because once they know that you have an edge over them, a psychological edge, they start to melt. So
Okay.
you have to just project your inner strength. You must be very confident. When you walk into a room to test either polygraph or voice stress detection, you've got it's your career. You've got lots of people ahead of you to interview and to test. So if you make one mistake now and again, it doesn't affect you. But for the person that you're going to test, for him, this is an exercise in survival. And when you walk in a room, or he walks in, he's summing you up. He's watching you. He's analyzing you. He's looking for your weakness because he's fighting to survive. So you have to project that I'm the man, I'm the guy, I'm the woman that's going to take you down. I am strong and I will catch you out. And when you can successfully project that kind of inner strength, you're halfway there. Then again, you have to play the part. Because a person who's going to eventually give up the truth, he wants to give it up to somebody that he perceives to be on a higher level and psychologically stronger.
Yes,
So you must look the part, like you look the part, I look the part. You've got to look dynamic. You've got to present yourself as you know what you're doing. You can't go in with jeans and a t-shirt and trainers because then you look like a bum. So you have to act.
definitely, sir. So the voice stress analysis is a great technology for identifying stress measured from one's voice. And this technology, what are your views that in future this technology will be useful to which extent for us?
Well, we're making great strides with voice stress technology. The first thing we did, as I alluded earlier, is that we made it quicker and more accurate using other technology like artificial intelligence. Now we're busy with an application right now that we're going to install on mobile devices. So you can now take voice stress detection out of the testing room into the field. So, in other words, let's take a military situation. There's 50 people out at a barracks somewhere, they're protecting a national asset. Now, the state does not want them to use drugs or go partying. They want them to be doing their jobs. They mustn't be stealing. So, an officer, can go out to a remote situation and with his mobile device, he can test 50 people in under 2 hours. So it will be simply ask the question, press a button, hand him the phone like that, he answers, you catch the answer, next question. And that uploads to a preset format, short report form, a technical report. You take his picture, it imprints the picture, And that will, when you press finish, it can immediately send to a predetermined email address or a group, or it can stay on the system and you can print it off later. So portability and nano engineering is the way of the future. Now we're also going to be tying that in with voice recognition, which will be handy for banks and insurance companies, people who have to constantly identify you. And in time, there will be such things as voice banks, where, for example, you could test somebody over the phone, and that person says they are John Citizen. But you could take that interview, upload it into a voice library, and it will come back and say, that's not John Citizen, that's Peter Citizen. So the technology is getting sharper all the time, and that's where we're going to go with it, is portability and tied up with voice recognition.
So people who have anxiety problems or depressions, they have already stress conditions in themselves, and their voice may be sound stressed when if any person who, even if he is innocent, is put in the analysis through this instrument, they might give a false reading, or they might give like, because they are already stressed. So in those cases, how can we rely on this in technology? Is this technology
Okay?
useful
Now,
in that case?
yeah, look, um, natural anxiety or natural stress has different causes with background factors. When a person comes in to be tested, they know what they're being tested for. Let's just say it's a job interview. And if they have any negative job history, they will be anxious that you might find it out. So it's quite natural. We expect people to be nervous and anxious, either for the situation or they have an underlying anxiety problem. But that doesn't affect it because that is their baseline. And sorry, that is their baseline. And we are looking for, sorry about that. We are looking for movement off the baseline. So they have their baseline anxieties. We ask them questions. Is today Thursday? Say yes. We ask you about your job history. They'll say no. Then you might start to get an increase in stress levels because they have something to hide. Then your next question would be, did you ever steal anything from a job site? If they didn't, they'd say no, and their stress levels would be normal. If they say no and they did, you will get an elevation. But always it's an elevation off the baseline. So we don't just measure raw stress. It's always off the baseline. And then we use control questions. Because a control question is a comparison question. Now, that comparison question is also quite tough. It's loaded to give it weight so that there's a fair comparison. So, and what you do is you prime the person. So I would say to you, let's just say, for example, your name is Sally. I would say to you, Sally, you're not the type of person that lies to people that trust you, are you, Sally? And I look at you. Trust me, you will say, no, I'm not. But have you lied to people that trust you? Of course you have. So then when I get to the test, I say, now remember your answers, Sally, don't change them. We know, because you've told me, I now know that you don't steal from people that trust you, you don't lie to people that trust you, and you don't cheat the people that trust you. That's correct, isn't it, Sally? And you say, yes, it's correct. See, now I've got you agreeing with the no's, I've got you agreeing with the yeses. I've made it very difficult for you to change your answer. But you know that you're lying. So in the test, your comparison question would have, let's say, that value. Now, let's say you did steal something from a job site, and I ask you, did you ever steal from a job site? Your stress value will go there because that carries more consequences than lying to somebody in the past that I don't even know and you possibly can't remember. So we do give them a fair fighting chance, and the scoring algorithms are biased in favor of truth. In other words, there's a percentage we'd say, let's give them some marks just in case. So if they fail, you can take them outside and shoot them in the knees, basically. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. But, we are very confident in our results.
So, physiognomy is a practice of accessing a person's character or personality from their outer appearance. And would you like to share with us any specific case in which you used this technology and it was helpful?
Yes, well, excuse me, I use it all the time. You see, physiognomy is really the study of heads with facial features. We don't study so much the shape of heads anymore, although I can tell you if you see particularly men, but women as well, with a thick, short neck and a short head, they are potentially violent. But I look more at faces. Now, people can control their periphery. They control their bodily movements because they can see them. But what you can't see is this portion of your face. And we call this the golden triangle. And we look for micro tremors. Now, when you're speaking to a person, they come in the room, they're a bit nervous, and you will notice that they might have a tic or a twitch, or these muscles here move from time to time, and you have to observe. Now, it's a bad thing to stare at a person, is if you look at a person in the eyes, it's staring and you make them uncomfortable. So what I do, I always focus here. I look at the person there. So they know that I'm looking at them, but they don't know where, and I'm not staring at them. I'm not staring them down. But when I focus there, I can see all this of the person. And so what I do is if I find that I've approached sensitive information where I see a micro tremor, a muscle micro tremor, I will again repeat that question in a slightly different format just to see if that same thing presents again. And I will often do it 3 times, and then we call that a cluster of cues, because every movement is a cue, but one is not good enough. So you must repeat. And if you get a response, a cue response to the same question or type of question, that's significant. Then you know that you're asking something very sensitive, and that person is either hiding information, which is criminal or embarrassing, or they are lying to you. And I use that all the time. I'll just give you a famous situation that we had here. Do you remember Oscar Pistorius, the Blade Runner, that shot his girlfriend in the bathroom in his home? Now, I took off time and I watched all the interviews, the court proceedings. BBC asked me to analyze a clip that they took of him before he was sentenced, and various magazines did. And if you can download those clips, I think they might be on YouTube, you'll see how he sat in court and really gave a performance, weeping with no tears. I think he took eye drops or water in a bottle and sprayed it up his nose, because he'd sit in court and let his nose drip. So what he's doing, he's deliberately taking away any ego. He's bearing his soul. He's trying to show the court that, I'm so honest, I'm truthful, I'm bearing my soul, I'm letting my nose drip, I've got a bucket, I'm pretending to vomit. It was really, I think he deserved an Oscar. Then in his BBC interview, he did exactly the same thing again. He pulled his face crying, but no expression in the eyes. So it's easy to pretend you're crying, but the crying isn't there. And he let his nose run again. Now, the natural reaction would be to maintain some sort of dignity. And even if you just did that, or asked for a tissue, but he didn't. He let his nose just run in a long string, and it was really just hanging there, and you wanted to cut it with the scissors. It was such a poor show. But it was great to look at it from an analytical point of view, to what lengths people will go to try and convince you of their innocence or their truthfulness. So if you can, get hold of the Oscar Pistorius clips. And if you then email me, I'll send you some of my analyses But then you mustn't share those because some of them are potentially libelous. When you
Okay,
write a book,
I
like
love to watch
when I
them.
wrote my second book, I did some editing and then I sent it to professional editors and publishers, and they all said to me, "You've got to tone it down, otherwise we're all going to go to jail for libel." So it's very difficult when you publish a book and you're talking about live people, and especially prominent people, because they have their reputations to protect and they will go for you. So you have to tone it down a bit. But if you email me and send me a reminder, I'll give you some unedited versions.
Surely, sir. I love to watch them and learn from them. So, would you like to tell us about the workshops you have been conducting for pre-employment screening techniques? We would like to have a brief about them.
Okay. Well, pre-employment screening, the object is to discover if there is any, if that the subject has any criminal history or any bad history. So it takes a trained person. Often, especially in the past, you'd go to a company as a consultant, and the first thing I'd say, let me meet your HR officer and find out where are they from, what are they about, and usually they don't have any psychology background. It's just somebody who likes dealing with people, and that's not good enough. In a company, your HR people really need to be investigators. They need to be forensic investigators because you get a few bad apples in the company, they can destroy the company. So HR pre-employment screening is extremely important. So we train people on various techniques. We train them facial analysis, just the basics, because you don't have to go, you don't have to study it for 5 years. You can pick up the basics in 2, 3 days. So we teach them to look at facial analysis, scan, um, content analysis of what they're saying. You ask them, you ask them questions that will give you back a lot of information, not yes/no questions, open-ended questions, because the more information they give you, the more you are able to analyze what they've said to you. So that's what pre-employment screening is about. It's getting the person to talk about their past, analyzing what they're saying, and put some structure to it. We also teach pen and paper tests. Some of them are very good, and they are designed to baffle people, basically. Because anybody who's intelligent who does a pen and paper test, they try and see where you're going with this. But there are many questions in there that make no sense to them whatsoever. But you're looking for consistency. You want to see if that person is consistent in what they're saying. If they're not consistent, they're lying. They're trying anyway. They're hitting the ball all over the park. And in some instances, as I say, we will use voice stress detection just because of the sheer numbers. In South Africa, we have a burgeoning, a massive security industry. We have something like 600,000 or 700,000 private security guards, and they are not permanent. It's a very volatile, a churn industry. I would say every month about 100,000 leave the industry and a new 100,000 come in, and they all have to be screened. So it's a long ongoing process. And we train we train security companies. They have whole departments that just test new applicants. So they don't do the whole facial thing. They just cut it straight down to either voice stress detection, or polygraph. If they pass that test, welcome to the team. If they don't, we'll get back to you. But it's an important process.
Okay, sir. So, at last, any message you would like to give to the generation, and can they focus forensic psychology as their career, and what they can do to build a good career in this field?
I think that forensic psychology and all the branches are extremely important. I think it's exciting. Look, the world is becoming a bigger place in terms of population numbers. For every generation, the world is becoming more dangerous. And we need to find out what's going on with these people. We can't just walk around and shoot anybody we don't like. So we need to find out what makes them tick. We need to find out whether they should be incarcerated or whether they can be helped. But forensic psychology, I mean, every bank, every insurance company should have teams of forensic psychologists. That's what it's all about. Even if you're a salesman, you need, I think, forensic psychology, or all branches of psychology are exciting, they're fascinating, and very important. Because everything you do, you're dealing with people. If you're selling, you're dealing with people. If you're hiring people. Everything is to do with people. So the better we can understand the other parties, we'll be in a better space. So yes, fantastic career.
By this, we come to the end of the interview. Thank you so much, sir, for sparing time with us. And it was my honor to have interview you. And if you like to say something about our organization, or you can go ahead.
Um, it's early in the morning, so I don't have too much more to say. But it was great listening to you. I like your questions. I think they're quite deep. Some of them were quite tough. I didn't have time to prepare, so it was an exciting experience for me as well, and I thank you.
Thank you, sir. And people watching, if you like this interview, an informative one, please kindly like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more such interviews. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, and to everybody, thank you.